Welcome to the Good Rookies podcast. My name is Fahim.
And my name is Nelly J, y'all. And we are Good Rookies. What's going on, everybody? Happy Good Tuesday. And guess what? It's episode 74.
74.
Wow.
Oh. That's right, y'all. And we're so excited. We have a very smart, intellectual guest on the podcast. You know what I'm saying? We're going to drop a lot of knowledge. A lot of stuff we're going to talk about, y'all. I don't know anything myself, so we're going to learn together. Fahim, please introduce who we got.
All right. So this is going to be a really good special podcast, I have to say, because we have many times we have recurring guests. This is one from way back. We just mentioned we did 74 episodes. He's from episode number 7.
Wow.
Like we were just like young pups coming up.
Yeah, so that's true.
He's definitely got a lot to spill for us today. We have a lot of questions and we're gonna get a lot of answers, and I'm happy to be educated. Let's welcome Dr.Joel Kerr to the podcast today.
Dr. J. Dr. J. Dr. J.
I appreciate that.
What's
chest
up,
bump,
Dr.
Chest bump.
What up, Dr. J? How are you doing? How is everything going? I haven't seen you since, I think the pandemic was about to end, we thought, back in 2020. And here we are. Here we are.
Was this part 4, part 3? Who knows? It's just a long sequel. But listen, both of you, I appreciate, and I want to congratulate you on your 74th episode. That is impressive. This definitely takes a lot of consistency. And I know a lot of people think that they can just do this. They see it being done and they're like, oh, I'm smarter than them. I look better than them. I can speak better than them. None of that matters, because at the end of the day, it's consistency. It's the time that you guys put in. So I want to congratulate you on that, because you guys are doing a great job. Keep it up.
No, thank you so much. And actually, in the shout outs, I'm going to ask you to give our listeners some advice for the pandemic, whatever that is. So think about it while we go through the episode. But being a sports fan, and you work, and we're going to highlight you, of course, for the culture and go in detail there. But we've seen a lot of injuries. I think they said last playoff, it was the most injuries we've ever seen in superstars. Kawhi went down. Chris Paul had an aggravated injury. Giannis almost cut and missed injuries. Trey missed again. I mean, like Harden, Kyrie. I mean, the list goes on, right?
Yes.
Very injury-ridden playoff post game. And now this season, I think a lot of injuries as well. I know doctors they assume that because of the bubble and the short turnaround from that season, that we'll probably see injuries for the next 2 years. So as a Raptor fan, OG had a hip pointer injury, and I don't know what the hell that was, but apparently they're saying that it can reoccur at any time. As a Raptor fan, should we be concerned that this is going to be bothering him for the rest of his career, or is it something that just happened because of not resting enough or whatnot?
Well, I'm just going to segue into this idea that just popped up into my head, because I want to come back on here at some point. But I think what I will do next time is I'll have a model on my computer that I can share the screen with regards to these injuries, so we can see exactly what we're talking about.
Perfect.
Literally, it just popped into my head. I'm like, man, I should have done that, because I got a pretty cool software that I could just do 360 of the skeletal system, muscles, nerves, put them in, plug them out. But that's for next time. So that's a plug for you to make sure that I'm back in here sooner than later. But going to the question, a hip pointer. So everybody has hips. If you put your hands on the side of your hips, you should feel some bones. If you take your thumb and just push it towards your groin, there should be one that really sticks out. That is called your ASIS, okay? Anterior superior iliac spine. That protrusion, that bony protrusion, houses or is where a lot of muscles attach. So what could have happened, one of two things. One, OG could have fallen on his stomach on, quote unquote, that pelvic area and bruised the bone and also the attachment. Two, someone could have kicked it in the play, kicked, elbow, kneed it, whatever it may be, And actually the third could have been him just trying to exert some force. And as he did that, the tendon pulled away from the attachment site. And therefore, hip pointer is I'm just going to call it what it is. It's a sports commentary injury. There's a lot of those that I find really annoying. Growing pains. What else is another one that I can't stand? Groin strains, calf strain, all that stuff. Those are just words they use for the lay public so they can understand what it is that's going on. But a real technical term could be either a iliopsoas tendinopathy acute or a rectus femoris tendinopathy acute. Something along those lines would be the more accurate definition of the injury. But for that young man, to be honest with you, I personally believe he's too bulky. I think he needs to get a little bit more lean with his overall body composition. He has all the attributes to be great. I just think he's just a little bit too big. And for how the Raptors want to play with guys over 6'5" that can guard all 5 positions, which he can do, but at the same time, he always ends up being injured at some point throughout the season. He never has played a full season. And I'm hoping that maybe this is not too serious and he'll be able to bounce back and make contributions, because the boys have been playing really well, especially Steady Freddie for sure. You got to shout him out.
Yes, shout out Steady Freddie.
All-star Steady Freddie.
Vote. Okay, thank you for breaking that down, because I'm like, okay, I totally understand it. I can't feel my bone, you know why.
No comment.
Okay, so let's go to the next injury, which was a breaking news today. Damian Lillard, breaking news, as everyone found out today, that he has to now do abdominal surgery. We all know he's been struggling this season, not playing his best. And that abdominal, I mean, I could imagine playing basketball with an abdominal injury. That must be painful. But yes, the fact that now that he has to go to surgery, how much pain do you think he was playing with this past couple of months now? And then they're saying that he might be out indefinitely. How serious can this be?
Well, I wish I had that diagram all set up so you guys could see exactly what we're talking about. But your abdomen basically runs from just underneath your xiphoid process, which is just underneath your chest, and goes all the way down to your pubic bone in the front and along the side as well. So we're talking about the abdominal muscles that everybody wants to have for the summertime, but they don't want to put no work in. Rectus abdominis and potentially your internal, external obliques. So I, again, just being aware of this injury myself, I could only suspect that he might have what we call a sports hernia, which is, it sounds really painful because it is. It literally is either the internal external oblique, which makes up the abdomen, is going through the inguinal canal. And the inguinal canal is what us men had to make our testicles drop through to make us be boys. And there's a very, very good possibility that that's the injury that he has. How does one get this type of injury? It's through just playing physical sport. It's also through training. It's very important that when he is doing his exercise, and this boy loves to work out, we know that, we've seen the videos. Yes. We just have to make sure that when you are working out, that there is a balance of abdominal work. And I know a lot of people, when they think, okay, I'm going to get in shape this year, I'm going to do 1,000 sit-ups, I'm going to do 500 crunches. And that's the type of stuff that can create this issue where you just have what we call over strength or overcompensation of flexion-based muscles and exercise, and it can create an imbalance on the extension-based ones. And when the body gets put into any position that it doesn't like, it usually rips because it says, I've had enough and I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. So
he probably had very, very small tears of these abdominal muscles throughout the season, because he didn't really look like himself throughout the season, actually.
Yeah.
He just looked off. And I think this probably was it.
Well, it's interesting because we all know LeBron had, I think, a level 1, or he also had abdominal issue too, and he missed, I think, 4 weeks. He came back after 4 weeks. So we'll obviously monitor LeBron. He was playing great this past week, averaging over 30 and stuff like that. But I'm just happy you broke it down, because I know a lot of times as fans, fantasy owners like myself, who wants to draft players, injuries are always an issue. We get that. But this year with COVID protocols and with the injuries that are still lasting from that bubble off season, that's very short, what 60-day turnaround. You know, as fans, it's kind of frustrating to see like your favorite players kind of go down. So thank you.
I want to touch on that though, if you don't mind.
Of course.
With regards to the bubble and the turnaround.
Yes.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. It's a lot of stress and strain on their bodies, and to have that limited amount of recovery. And let's just be honest, LeBron is a freak of nature for two reasons. One, just his size, and two, his actual overall focus on his body. Like, he spends a good amount of money, time on it. Not a lot of players do that. Let's just be honest. Some men just spend their money on their gold teeth and their chain and their
Anthony
girl
Davis.
and their car. Yo, drop his name quick.
Anthony Davis.
The story with him apparently is he doesn't work out at all. He just plays.
And I heard that he eats a lot of burgers, and like he's had a very bad diet. Like I heard that his diet is atrocious. That's what I heard.
This is why the man is injured
Street
all
clothes.
the time.
Yeah.
Street clothes Davis. That's what Barkley called him.
So Barkley called him. He ain't lying. He ain't lying.
It's a real thing. And funny enough, I have some things that I wanted to highlight with regards to recovery and healing and whatnot. And it's very important. Like, people need to realize that you don't necessarily need to be an athlete to have a solid recovery plan. And I know you had mentioned that you wanted me to touch on that.
Yes, and for the culture. Yeah, for the culture. Definitely. Yeah, for the culture, we're definitely going to go over that, because I think we have questions about the bubble and what to suspect. Because I think what happened from the bubble that season and then the Olympics season again. Oh, yes. Yeah, we're going to definitely break that down. A lot has happened. So, Fahim, let's go to our hot topic, because I know you wanted to touch on this, because we talked about with Dr.J about a year and a half ago, and now it was Klay Day. It was Klay Day. Yeah. So go ahead, Fahim.
So just for context, you're right. About 2 years ago, we spoke. There was many people, not just Klay Thompson at the time, but we're talking Klay, we're talking KD, we're talking John Wall. Like, a lot of guys were out for an extended period of time, right? And we were kind of grading players and what we thought, hey, you know what, like, what do you think this player is going to be like when they do come back? Klay was one that I think when we spoke, we were all kind of on the same page, kind of, you know, not sure, but maybe.
I was sure. No, I was sure.
Okay. So we gave a number, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to go to Dr. J, since this is really about him. Do you remember what your number was that you thought that he'd be percentage-wise?
That's what you were pulling up on the phone.
Yes. You already know. Dr. J, listen, I already knew what he was doing. I'm like, he wants to pull up what you said.
No, I just don't want to misquote. So I just
want to do me like Stephen A. When Stephen A. says the Raptors are going nowhere in the playoffs. Sorry, let me pull my hair back.
There's a number between 0 and 100.
Oh my goodness! Let me say. I hope I said 80%.
Not bad. So let's run.
And by the way, was this before the Achilles?
Pardon me?
Was this before the Achilles?
Actually, yes. So this was the first injury. He didn't quite have his second injury.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the first injury. Yeah. No, actually, this happened. No, yeah, you're right. You're right. The second injury happened, I think, in October, right, for him that year?
Well, I'm not sure the month, but I do know that.
Yeah, the month after.
I was actually very surprised that he got injured right after. So here we go.
Yeah.
This is after the first injury by Klay. This is Dr. J. I don't want to misquote you, so we'll just run this, and then you can
go ahead. Run it.
Here we go.
Is that story? I'm skeptical that Klay will be back to his explosive self. I can't see him going to the rim with the same amount of force and speed. He won't lose his shooting touch because he didn't jump that high off the ground anyway. But with regards to his game going to the basket, I don't think that's going to be the same.
So give me a percentage.
I'm going to say 75.
75. All right. Dr. J.
Okay.
There you
happy
go.
With myself. I'm happy with myself. Now, in my defense, after that first game that we all saw that explosive dunk, the only reason why he actually has this explosiveness is because he didn't play for over 941 days.
Yes,
the extra rest, of course.
You will get there, but just know that if he didn't have that second injury, there was a good chance that he would not have had that much recovery rest. Like he
It's true.
definitely worked harder on this injury without me even being there than the first one, because of the fact that this happened as he was recovering from the first one.
Yes.
So there had to be more attention to every detail, and he was not rushed back. As KD told him, no, don't rush this. Take your time. I think that's probably the best advice. And I really hope that there's a lot of student athletes that are listening to this, and parents of student athletes, because they're crazy. When their kid gets one of these injuries, either an ACL or even an Achilles, their whole mindset is, oh, I got to get him back on the court as fast as possible because he was ranked #1 in the alphabet soup ranking of Toronto. I'm like, yo, who cares? That's irrelevant, man. Like, let's take the time that the kid needs to get back.
That's a fact.
So Dr. J, let me ask you this then. I kind of treat this like Derrick Rose. No, this is how my train of thought. Okay, there's Derrick Rose. He was injured, re-injured, came back. When he came back, it took me a while for me to feel comfortable to say, like, oh, is he going to injure himself again? You know what I'm saying? Everything was very touch and go, touch and go, touch and go. I'm kind of having that with Klay. Obviously, no one's hoping he re-injures again, but I'm still not, as much as the dunk was he looked explosive, he looked great. I still am very much I feel like I'm going to need at least a good, maybe even like I need a season worth before I can actually like treat him like, okay, he's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point. But the factor that we need to keep in mind is 941 days. Like 941 days is what really is a pinnacle and a good, important factor, because of the fact that he was away from the game for an extended period of time, which it was more rehab focused. It sounds so sick to say this out loud, but the best thing that happened to him was rupturing the Achilles, because it gave him more time to rest and not only strengthen the knee, but he had to also work on this Achilles tendon rupture. In 2020, in my office alone, I had over 20 plus patients with Achilles tendon ruptures from January to August. And these were not NBA players. These were regular people that were unfortunately got bit by the COVID bug of staying inside, and it was decided and they decided to go and do what they used to do before it, and they all tear off their Achilles.
How many of those injuries do you think would be prevented if they did proper stretching? Let's be real. A lot of people go out and play.
See, I'm going to correct you on that. And this is a misnomer with regards to how you cannot prevent injury. Like, you really can't. Like, there is no magic exercise. There's no magic stretch. There's no juice or waist belt or whatever it is. But
not the waist belt.
No, not the waist belt. But you can mitigate the extent of the injury. So instead of having a full-blown tear of an Achilles, you could have a strain of the Achilles. So instead of stretching your Achilles, you need to strengthen it. You need to put it in the position that it could tear. And the way that it could tear is at its maximal tension. So I'm going to pull out my John Morant hairstyle for a second so I can show you guys this. So this is the tendon, the Achilles tendon. And it can go as far as this. This is how wide it can go. But say you've been sitting, say that again?
I'm just letting people know who are listening to podcasts that can't see.
It's a hairband. Sorry, my apologies. I forgot we're on a podcast. So I have a hairband and I'm opening it up as wide as I can, everyone. And if you've been sitting on your buttocks for an extended period of time and you just decided to go and hoop and open up the tendon like this, where it hasn't been in that position for a long time, it's going to yell at you. And the way that it yells at you depends on how inactive you've been. So if you've been doing some work where you're putting your tendons under tension, they'll be like, okay, I've been here before. But if you haven't done that, it's going to be like, oh, I don't know if I can swear, but oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've never been here before. I'm out. And out means rip.
Deuces. Damn. Mercy.
That's it. That's every injury. And it's so crazy how we don't have a lot more practitioners communicating this, clinicians to patients. If you don't do something and you attempt to do it, your body is going to tell you, I don't want to do this anymore. and shut down, rip, tear, break. And that's physiology.
So would you say it's best to, for those who are trying to get out there or start working out, is it best for them to kind of slowly, like kind of have a like start out slow and then increase intensity? Like, would that help at all or no?
Of course, there's that moderation to there's a gradual increase to everything.
Okay.
But the misnomer for people being active and wanting to lose weight or reduce injury is cardio and stretching. Those two things are not what's going to protect your muscles from being ripped or anything like that, or losing weight. It's actually stressing your nervous system and your muscle tissue. And you only can do that when you put the tissue under stress. And the only way you can do that is by lifting heavy things or putting the tension under the tissue. And that is resistance training, not running on a treadmill, not taking your leg and holding it up over your head for an hour or whatever. Those things are good. I'm not saying that running and stretching is not good for you, but it doesn't target the tissue the way that it needs to strengthen it.
No, broke it down, Fahim.
Try it.
Wow, no, I'm great. So after watching Klay perform, right? Like, were you shocked when you first saw his game? Were you like, okay, he rested for this long, so it makes sense? And how far has science come? Because I could imagine back in the day, like a tear like that would have ended your career. Now we have guys like even Kevin Durant when he came back. Like, absolutely. I mean, this man is going off. He's the MVP leading candidate right now. So absolutely. What's your thoughts on the advancement of science and like recovery for these athletes?
So two things that I want to highlight with this question, because I knew you were going to ask. Number one, it's time. They did not rush to come back. They rested. Durant was gone for a good amount of time. Same thing with Klay, 941. He should get a t-shirt with that on it. 941 days, that's a long time. And I'm just going to read off a little bit of some notes that I wrote, but the typical person that tears an ACL, we're looking at 6 to 9 months of healing for it to heal. That's just healing so that you can walk like a normal human. But to return to sport, it's 12 months, which is adding another 6 to 3 months to what I just said. So you need time for it to heal. And healing is broken down in the following ways, by the way. Let me just break this down for you. Phases of healing, of tissue healing. In the first hours of the injury, you're bleeding. Your body's reacting to it, and it bleeds either internally or externally. And your body creates an inflammatory response to this. And that's the next phase. And that could last from hours to weeks. And just think about anytime if you've ever injured any part of your body, it still hurts hours and days after the injury. And that's normal because your body is now almost attacking itself because something isn't where it's supposed to be. So after that, we're looking at proliferation, which basically means that the body is now trying to put cells back into the place where it's supposed to be. And it's not necessarily going to send the same cells. So there's 3 of us on here right now. Nelly, you have a house on sand. Fahim, you have a house in the country. And I have a house in the city. We're each going to use different material to build our house. But if I go on vacation, I say, yo, Fahim, I need to come by my house and something is broken in my house. You're going to take your material that you use to try and build on my house. But that might not necessarily work. It might make my house too hot, too cold. But it's still doing the job. That's literally what's happening in this phase where your body is literally saying, let's just get some tissue there to protect it. And then the last part, which is weeks to months, this is where, depending on where you are in your life, if you're an athlete, you want to remodel the tissue so it can come back to what it was before. But if you're a regular Joe and you're done with your basketball career at the Y, your remodeling doesn't last very long. As soon as you can walk, you're done. You're like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done with physio. Dr. J's beating me up too much. I can't take this anymore. I'm done. And that's 90% of people, to be honest with you. 95, if that. Hopefully you're recording that. I'll tell people that next year when I say that again.
No. It's all being recorded, man. Listen, I am learning, y'all. My mind's blown right now. I'm like, Fahim, like for real, I'm learning a lot. So we're going to go into our next segment, but any last questions for you about Klay? And
I definitely got it. I definitely could close it out with this. So Klay's back. if we can just get in, maybe if you could squeeze us in about 30 seconds, what you got for Klay coming back on a number between 0 and 100, once again.
No, after seeing that first game and I'm seeing how eager he is, and also a big thing that happened to him as well, I believe he went through a mental reshift, like
cleansing. Oh my
I can
God, tell.
You can see it. You can see it, man. Because there's
better.
many games he was sitting on that bench. You can just see how emotional he was. So I'm gonna go to 95%. He's going to be back and he's comfortable on the court. He looks great. He looks so good. So I'm not gonna put any negativity towards him at all. But I think he's back to himself.
So you're kind of leaning toward how we're viewing KD. Like, correct. No one really thinks about KD's injury, right? Like, we're beyond that. He's just going
off.
Right, and you think he's back. So Klay is back. Says Dr.J.
Absolutely.
Enough said.
Enough said.
All right. So Nelly J, let's go to For the Culture.
For the culture, we like to highlight individuals for the culture. And today, we get to highlight Dr.Joel Kerr. So Dr. J, for those who do not know, he's the founder and director of therapy at the Health Institute, Mans in Scarborough. Okay, y'all? It has been around since 2010. And his experience as a health practitioner, strength and conditioning coach, motivational speaker, he's dedicated to providing young athletes with the tools to building blocks needed to be successful on and off the court or field, depending on what they're playing. So, Dr. J, you're a leader in sports and medicine. I remember you've worked in many tournaments like Nike Crown League, which is the NBA sanctioned summer league. I know the Pro-Am League that Funda, who we had, Sheldon Cassim used to run. So you're always a part of the grassroots as well as professional. And my mom goes to your institute as well. And she's also talking about Dr. J and the doctors there, and a lot about how great you guys are impacting not only the elders, but of course the youth as well. So
absolutely.
What made you want to start your own institute? You know what I mean? As a person of color, like, was it hard to get into it? And what kind of pushed you to get it done?
Oh man, these are all great questions. First of all, thank you for the intro. And the vision that I had for the Health Institute was created while I was in class at chiropractic school. Just sitting there daydreaming about what I wanted my practice to look like, what I wanted my clinic to look like. And the main thing that I wanted to see was people within this clinical space that looked like me. So I handpicked and selected and groomed the practitioners that I work with to make sure that they came from similar backgrounds, so that we could just basically go out in the community and be like, hey, listen, we are authoritarians in health. And I use the word authoritarian not in a negative way, but just as a way to really push our community to be healthier. And let's just be honest, it's not a priority within our community. Our community is usually about survival. And surviving means working X amount of hours and minimizing our income on taking care of ourselves. And then when something happens, we're like, oh boy, now I got to do it. And that's not the right way to live. And we got to change that. And if this pandemic does not encourage you to do this, I don't know what you've been doing for the past 2 years. You cannot wait for government and doctors and all these other people to take care of you. You got to do it yourself. And there's some basic things that you can do, every single one of you. I feel like I'm preaching right now, but I'm just going to keep going.
No, preach, man, preach.
There's just basic things that we can all be doing as humans to make sure that we are healthier. And the first thing is, number one, we need to make sure that we're getting good sleep. I know I always tease Nelly J on this one. She does not sleep. She's a bad sleeper. I'm going to talk your business out onto the people then.
I'm a bad sleeper.
Get better sleep. So there's times where we should not be up doing work, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, all those, what my mom would call them witch hours or demon hours. We should be sleeping on them times. So that's number one. Number two, your nutrition, your eating habits are paramount. We got to stop eating things in a box. Box food, processed foods, all that stuff is fake food. You don't like fake people. Why are you eating fake food? Training, you need exercise. And if you don't like exercise, if you've never played a sport in your life and you don't like sweating, at least walk, go for a walk in a park, walk on the street. just move your body for at least 20 minutes a day, ideally in the morning. That's my ideal situation. But if you're not a morning person, just make sure you get the 20 minutes in some capacity. Hydration, get a water bottle big enough that you can't lose and miss. So you got to try and drink a big amount of water throughout the day. Try to get through one of these each day. Stress management, very important. Your children can stress you out. Your partner can stress you out. Your parents can stress you out. You can stress out yourself, but you have to figure out a way to reduce that stress. And you can't use devices to do that. Devices meaning alcohol, drugs, gyal, man, whatever. All of those things have a toll. So you don't want to use something that's going to add more stress to your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing is supplements. Honestly, supplements are like a cheat code to getting a boost. Right now with this something that's going on, everyone should be trying to get as much vitamin D inside their body, zinc, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, and selenium. All of those vitamins that I just listed off are paramount to keeping your body healthy. I am not going to tell you that those vitamins are going to prevent you from getting what's going on. That's not what I am saying. But I am saying it's just helping to build your body stronger so you can do your day-to-day things. You can do your little exercise. You can do your podcast. You can do your chiropractic work. Whatever it is that you're doing, you're giving yourself a chance to do it and not feel like a slug at the end of the day. And that's my plug. Also, with regards to the space, right now we're doing a little bit of transition. I'm trying to see if I can make the Health Institute more of a gym style facility. So if you're looking for us, if you're looking for a space, a private gym space, we're looking to offer some memberships, some little varieties of memberships. We're going to offer some group training for children. We're do some martial arts, and we call it Superman training or superhero training, excuse me, for it's more encompassing for girls as well and boys. We got a program called Community 4 where we're looking to get 4 ladies who know each other, who don't know each other. You come in, you have a trainer. It's affordable, and you got to meet at least 2 times a week. It's a 10-week program. We call it Community 4. And something I was fooling around with some of my friends, we call it dad bod training or no dad bod training, where we're just trying to get
That's
young
a funny
men.
name.
No, it is. It's the truth because right now we don't have much things to do. So we're looking to see if we can make Friday night the training night for dads, because we got to take care of ourselves too. I know every time with everything that's going on, we're always focused about the elderly, we're focused about the kids, we're focused about women. But hey, don't forget the dads, especially the dads that are putting in the good work. You guys need to take care of yourselves too. I've heard too many stories about men this past 2 years in their 40s, late 30s, that are just dying. They don't wake up from going to bed. And that's scary. That is scary. I'm 42, going to turn 43 in 2 months, and I don't want that to happen to me or any of you. So yeah, no dad bod training coming at THI. Hit me up. Let me know.
No, that's really dope. I'm liking all the plugs. I'm liking everything, guys. We're going to have THI's website, everything. So definitely can tap in with Dr. J. Again, my mother's review is 5 stars. Just make sure if you're from Trinidad and Tobago, please wear red, black, and white. Very proudly.
Don't listen to her.
Very proudly. Fahim, any questions for Dr. J?
Bowser.
I do have one.
Yes.
So it has to do with what you're mentioning about vitamins. And I just need clarification. I would assume that when we're talking vitamins, the first option would be to maybe get them from foods first.
Of course.
And then if you can't get them from foods, then as an alternative to maybe supplement or whatever you can't get, then you would want to take the pill form. Correct?
Okay.
I just want to okay.
So the clarification on that is you always want to get everything from your food sources. So you're not going to not eat fruits and vegetables if you take supplements. Supplements should not, I know the word says supplements.
Replace, yeah.
Or it should not replace eating food. Okay, so you should definitely still eat your food that has vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium, and zinc, and the vitamin D, but adding these to your regimen is only going to help your immune system. And I've just, again, I guess I'm plugging another plug. I just recently created a partnership with a very reputable Canadian manufacturing company for vitamins called CanPrev and Cytomatrix. top of the line. We're not talking about Costco or Shoppers or any brands like that. And I'm not trying to punk those ones, but the products and the ingredients that they use aren't necessarily the top of the line. Like there's different tiers to this. And those brands that I just brought up are like tier 2 and tier 3. And most of you love wearing tier 1 shoes and drive tier 1 Kia. So I'm not sure why you're putting tier 3 thing in your body, but that's a whole nother story.
Bars. Bars. No, I mean that's interesting to know. And like you were mentioning about just like, yes, I gotta sleep more. I know. But in regards to just like the pandemic, right? Like you probably seen more than we have. What has been the most common issues? Has it been the more mental game? Has it been like what kind of like what has been, you think, the biggest greatest challenge that you've seen in your clinic this past year?
It's definitely the mental approach to dealing with what's going on. It's like having chains and having your wrists locked in together. You know you want to do something, but you just don't have the capabilities physically and energy-wise to do it. And then the flip side of it is just being inside and working from home. And when you work from home, you don't have your same workstation, possibly. You're sitting on the couch, you're lying in bed. So there was a lot of neck and back issues that were being presented to the office. But right now, I'm really interested in just building up our community and letting the community know that, hey, the Health Institute is here. Another little campaign that we started in December is called For You. And every 4th day of the month, the clinical space is open to you. And you can come in and do whatever it is that you want in terms of physical activity. If you're a novice, which means you've never worked out in your life, I will be there and just to walk you through a 1-2 exercise. If you're someone who's familiar with the gym, you can come in and use the space. It's completely free. And that's something that I like to call #true pandemic relief, because these individuals that are responsible, quotation mark, for making these decisions, they're not really concerned, in my opinion, about the health of the individuals that they are involved with. Like they're just giving one-dimensional solutions, and our bodies doesn't work that way. We need to have multiple things to protect us and build us back up, because not everybody's built the same that can handle the stress mentally. This is really taking a toll on our children, the parents of children, the grandparents of children, and even people with no children. This is not good. So we're trying to do our best.
Sorry for him. I thought more question for him, because I'm curious to know, with this lockdown, because I have friends who own gyms and stuff like that, and they were saying that having the lockdown for gyms, like keeping the LCBO open, but not stuff like the gyms that I think is essential service, just like the LCBO. Like, what's your stance on that? And is there anything that we can do? Because I feel like if they can keep groceries open and else, like, I mean, I think gyms are essential for people to survive in this type of pandemic. So what's your thoughts on that as well? So, I'll pass it to Fahim.
I know I've seen a couple of tweets or memes or whatnot that the Ontario Premier keeps locking down the gyms because he wants everyone to look like him.
Oh, gosh.
The real talk, besides that joke, they, in this side of the world, proactive healthcare isn't looked at as a necessity. So we don't do things on this side of the pond where we try to build our reserves in comparison to other places like in Australia and New Zealand or whatnot, which are leaders in my field. So we wait for something to happen. And that's the reason why the gyms, in my opinion, are easy targets for this lockdown, because the value of gym usage and physical activity and living a healthy lifestyle isn't the norm. Like, it's not what everyone does. More people, when they finish work, they go home and they drink a beer, they have a rum, and they watch a movie, and they eat box food, and they go to bed. Like, that's their routine every single day after work. So having physical activity being a part of society has to start with your home, at home, with your parents, with your children, if you have. That's something I stress a lot. And I know I have a little girl, and she doesn't play sports, and I know she doesn't like sports, and that's fine. But I do encourage her to be active. Like, we'll wrestle, we'll go for walks, we'll play catch and whatnot. These are all things you should be able to do right now in the event that you don't have gym membership. You can still walk. You can still go outside. You can still do physical activity-based stuff. You don't necessarily need to have a gym. But with regards to the LCBO, like I heard another quote just again from that same premier. He's basically saying that he can't shut down the LCBO because there's too many people dependent on alcohol. Like, take that in.
Yeah.
And if they take them, if you close the LCBO and these people who are alcoholics can't get their alcohol, they're going to go into withdrawal, and then they're going to go into the healthcare system, and it's going to stress.
Domino effects
that we're doing. This is the mess that we're
it's-
talking
it's-
about.
exactly.
It doesn't make, it's maddening to even think about the fact that
Mhm.
we're keeping this substance available to addicts because we don't want them to go into withdrawal and end up in the hospital system and compromise what's going on right now.
Yeah.
It's a hot mess, man.
No, for
It's
real.
a hot mess.
So, Dr. J, just what you mentioned earlier about, people being active, maybe
Mhm.
going too hard and not easing their way in, and that's why these injuries can happen.
Mhm.
I just wanted to leave with, like, have people who maybe from this conversation here, and me included, saying, you know what you're saying makes sense. Maybe we should try and apply some of this. Is there something that for people who can't get out to the health institute and can't go out, that if you can just say, I'm saying even 3 things around the home
Mhm.
that is very simple that you think realistic people starting can do?
Okay. Great question. Just to add, the Health Institute, we can also do virtual sessions, just letting you know. But on the real,
Plug.
yeah, we do. We definitely do. We have
All right.
Perfect.
we just updated our software and we were able to do virtual sessions. So yeah, that's an option.
Good.
So 3 things. Number one, you must drink more water. Water should really be the only thing that you're drinking. Okay. Number 2, you got to get a good amount of sleep. You got to get a good amount of sleep. Okay. Going to bed after 11, 12, 1 is not the ideal. And then number three, you must do at least 20 minutes of walking every day. Okay.
I do 2 out of 3.
2 out of 3. Okay, that's 66%. You're okay with that?
No.
Ask your mom if you can bring home a 66% when you're a youth. What happened to
Wow.
you? Exactly. But on the real, like this is what I do with my patients now. And I just think back to some of the back in the day when I used to have patients, I would try to be nice to them and sugarcoat their own personal health. But right now, all I do is I put 4 squares on a box on my whiteboard, and I tell them to grade their health. Grade their health. And interestingly enough, while I was doing some research for Klay, they were talking about all these things that he changed after the Achilles injury.
Ooh.
Like his sleep habits, his nutrition, his training, his hydration, his stress management supplements. All of those things were A+. Some of them were A's, minuses, B minuses with the ACL one. But
He's also single now too. He's also single as well. I'm letting y'all know.
Yeah. But that's something that is important. All of those things that aren't to do with physical activity and playing basketball for his recovery and for everyone out there is important. Those are the building blocks. Your sleep habits, your eating habits, your hydration, your stress management, your ability to take in some good nutrients with a supplement. All of those things are geared around building your frame, making you stronger to withstand stress. This virus is a form of stress on your body. If you are weak and you cannot fight it, you will suffer from it. If you don't take the defenses for it to help boost it up, i.e. the vaccine, you're putting yourself in a compromising position to fight this said virus. And that goes with everything.
Mm-hmm.
That goes with everything. You walk down the street and you know you don't work out, you can't do 5 push-ups, and a man comes to try and rob your wallet, and he doesn't have no tool on him, and you want to try and fight him, you're not going to fight him because you're going to get your ass kicked because you don't have any strength. That's with everything. Got to build your strength up so you can defend yourself.
This one last thing, and before we transition out of for the culture?
Actually, no. After you we have a question to
You
go.
got one?
After.
Okay, cool. So this is because we spent a lot of time talking about Klay and the things that Klay's doing, and it's great that you gave the rundown on Klay, right? I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but Klay Thompson, he's launched a CBD oil brand. It's called Just Live.
I did not know that.
Yes. Okay. So that's been launched. I just want to know real quick, in regards to his recovery, do you think that the CBD oil brand that he's having, since he's launching it, I'm assuming he's using it, do you think that would have any effect in regards to helping his cell, like you're talking about cells and regeneration and stuff like that? Do you think that has any effect, the CBD oil, or do you think how do you think that plays it? Real quick.
Well, as a Rastaman here, I have to 1000% promote the use of all greeneries. Honestly, I can send you a fascinating document that I came across today that talked about the medicinal properties of
is the document in English or is it in medical terms? Because
it's definitely readable.
It's in English. Okay, so I want to make sure because
it's readable by
saying some of these terms, and I'm okay. So I just gotta clarify. That's all. I have to clarify. Go ahead.
But all seriousness, it's actually pretty fascinating. The early findings are indicating that marijuana use helps reduce the symptoms of COVID.
I did hear that this afternoon, actually.
It's fascinating stuff, right?
Wow.
And with regards to the CBD oil and his recovery, I'm going to say who knows, but it doesn't hurt. And clearly it helped.
Right. Okay.
Right? It helped. Like with any medication, it may work for some 100%, and for others, it does not. But for sure, one thing that I know, you get some good sleep, you drink some good water, you strengthen up your body, you reduce stress and negative people around you, you're happier, you're healthier. End of story. Those things, everything I just said, you can control.
Yeah, no, it's
everything
true.
I just said.
It's true.
Everything I
it's
just
us
said.
to control. Well, guys, we're gonna work together on this. The sleeping. Maybe I should create a sleeping club where we kind of go to bed and we have to be like, get off Instagram, Janelle, or
that sounds kind of dirty still.
Well, I am a nerd.
Club.
A sleeping club. Yeah. So we say go to bed. Like we gotta hold each other accountable because sometimes I'm just watching memes and laughing. Okay. But my last question was, we're talking about the bubble, the short turnaround. I remember lots of the NBA doctors were against. So remember before the league started back, there was an argument between starting December 22nd or in January, right? LeBron was saying we should start in January because more recovery time. He was advocating that, but some players saw the paycheck, right? And if they started earlier, they'll get paid more money, right? Was it really that detrimental starting that early? Because I understand, like we kind of get the logic, but like even if they started a month later, I feel like it still would have been still too early to come back from a bubble type tournament play for not all, of course, but the players that were in the bubble. Your thoughts on that entire dilemma? Yeah,
I really do agree that it was a short turnaround. What we really don't see with regards to these games is the physical, I hate the word physicality, but the physical nature of basketball. And if you are going through a long season and playing in the playoffs and winning a championship, like you're playing a lot more games than other guys are. So the lack or the minimal amount of rest time between the season ending and the season starting 100% had a huge role to play on the number of injuries and the severity of the injuries. Because recovery is everything. Recovery is everything. And I'm going to repeat the recovery list once again. Because if you're able to put these things as a priority, as a pro athlete, as a mom, dad, no matter what, like you can give your body a chance to recover. Sleep, nutrition, exercise, hydration, stress management, supplementation, those things. Take those things in order. Most of those NBA guys, like I said earlier, don't really put a priority on their body. They're just there to collect the check and put the ball in the hoop 1-2 times. You can see those guys. Their body looks exactly the same from college to now.
Yeah, right? because Zion gained all that weight, so we saw the detrimental of that. I mean, how do you feel about that? Like, were you saying that, like, because he's getting paid millions of dollars to play a sport? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Is it only just food, or because I know they're saying that his foot was injured and he couldn't work out as much, but I know there's other things he could have done during the off season, right?
Well, there's a couple of things with that. Like I've seen him play live in Duke when he was in university, and he was a big boy. And we had access to see him after the game as well, and he definitely was not a small young man. The injury, for sure, to his foot was ridiculous. Like it just held him back. But like you said, like this is NBA teams. Like they have multiple ways for these young men to still be active. For example, at the Raptors facility, they have underground treadmills in the water. So there's less impact on his foot. He could be swimming. He could be using a wind bike. Like there's just so many things that he could be doing to keep his cardiovascular fitness up that there's no excuse. So there's a combination of things. He has bad people around him in his circle. The management, they don't feel comfortable talking to him about what's going on. And lastly, his own accountability. Like he's got to know that he is supposed to be out there being the next face of the NBA, and he's not doing that. And there's probably a lot of psychological damage there where he's using food as his drug. Food is definitely a drug. It's the most utilized drug and addictive drug that nobody points the finger to say, hey man, how come you're eating 6 Big Macs at 2 a.m.? Like, what are you doing?
Mercy.
That's more normalized than him snorting Coke or drinking a whole bottle of Jacks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Moderation, man.
No moderation. Bun the bug, Big Mac. Bun it.
Dr. J, man, thank you so much. Y'all, for the culture, now you know why. We're going to have him on the podcast again to drop more knowledge, okay?
Sure.
Hold us on it. But let's get to the next segment, Fahim.
All right, let's close it out with That's Absurd.
That's absurd. Fahim, bro. What was absurd this week? What was absurd?
For anyone who hasn't known, in college football, the United States, the University of Georgia, the University of Alabama, Crimson Tide. That is, we'd have to say an upset because Alabama always seems to be a favorite. So there's nothing absurd about that. Shout out to the University of Georgia. The absurd part is they had a linebacker, and after, you know how it goes, after you win, the cameras are there, confetti comes down, everyone's hyped, and they throw you a t-shirt, and definitely they throw you a hat of the winner.
Yes.
A University of Georgia linebacker on the winning team, he was handed a hat that had the University of Alabama championship hat.
But how do you...
While there's television, like there's cameras around everything, so he's walking around with an Alabama championship hat.
That's a prank. That's evil.
Who did that to him? That's absurdity. As most definitely say. But you do know that they print both teams.
Exactly.
Yes.
They don't know, right? They don't know who wins. But another thing, that's a lot of waste. What do they do with all that clothes and hats and stuff? I heard that they just ship it out to like Cuba and Dominican and stuff like that. I have an
answer for you, Dr. J. So it goes. You're 100% correct. So they print for both teams just for situations because they don't know who's going to win, right? Winners, they usually get the hat after and they wear it. The losers, they actually get sent to 2 major charities. One is World Vision.
Yeah.
The second is Good 360.
Okay. And
they send them there, and the World Vision sends them to Zambia.
Okay.
In particular. And Good 360 sends it to to many, just states here, doesn't state where, but many parts of Africa. So they, in other words, to answer your question, they go straight to Africa. Maybe for obvious reasons. Go ahead, Nelly J. It looks like you want to say something. Go ahead.
Okay. I have a lot of questions, okay? Because you know me, I'm about logistics, okay? I'm all about logistics. So there's boxes that was going to have, right? Typically, we're going to have boxes for Georgia, boxes for Alabama. Right. What I would have done is put the boxes for Georgia in the Georgia locker room. So if they win, when they come back or whatever, you give them these boxes with Georgia. Someone must have gone to the Alabama box, opened it, put something in the Georgia box as a prank to say, ha, 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 and given this Georgia linebacker to be a meme for at least a whole year. That's embarrassing. That's so embarrassing to be wearing the Alabama. And we all know the whole Alabama-Georgia rivalry. Like, that's That's absurd, Fahim. Dr. J, that's crazy. I'd be so
crazy.
mad. I'd be so mad. I'm sorry.
Yes. And the funny thing about it is, remember, this is fresh off a win. So right after the buzzer sounds, they're winning. He's probably not looking to see he's going to assume if he gets a hat, that hat is going to his team.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Dr. J, your thoughts on this absurdity? And if you're the linebacker, would you have checked? First of all, like, how would you feel knowing that you're wearing the opponent's championship hat? How would you feel, Dr. J?
Honestly, I think this is definitely absurd. I never even imagined. I can't imagine what that young man was going through. Someone was definitely trying to be funny. Listen, I guess we are dealing with some serious times. The man was trying to make a little joke, and this was his joke. But I just hope that nobody got hurt or physically assaulted or anything like that for this prank. I like pranks, to be honest with you. I think this was a great prank. It's a prank on a great stage. I just hope everybody can just sit back and laugh about it a couple weeks and whatnot. At the end of the day, Georgia won, and that's pretty much it.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Absurd, boy. That was funny.
Right.
Thanks for him.
All right. So tell you what, let's put this episode in the books.
All right, y'all. That was episode 74.
Wow.
74. So, Dr. J, as you know, we'd like to give you guys a chance to do a shout out as a guest. But this shout out, when you do a shout out afterwards, please share some pandemic advice. Whether, because we're all home, there's parents home with their kids, people are struggling mentally. So give us, 2 or 3 tips for folks to do outside of sleeping. Okay, outside of that, other tips that they can do at home to kind of help them get through this, whether it's like reading of the fact, whatever you want to add. So the floor is yours.
All right, my final word for everyone, just to try and get through this pandemic relief, is to, number one, you got to try to create a circle of people that you can depend on for positivity. It is so easy for me to message Nelly J and say, listen, man, everything sucks. I can't sleep, can't drink no water, no one's coming into the clinic, and not knowing what she's going through on the other end and just trying to dump all my negativity on her. That's not cool, okay? Like we need to make sure that we find a circle of people where, yes, maybe 1 and 2 times I could say that everything sucks, but not every single time I speak to your peoples that you're talking about negativity. So I guess in that one statement is find a circle of people, make sure those circle of people are at least trying to talk about some good things in their circle and in their life. Number 2, if you have children, make sure you give them some space. You cannot be on them, can't be doing that West Indian typical machine gun. Why is this? Do this, jump up here, put that there, put it. Can't be doing that right now. Give them a chance to grow, because it's the truth. He knows it's the truth. We can't be doing that right now. The kids are going through it as much as we adults are, and we need to respect the fact that they need space, they need some opportunity to make some mistakes and to grow and whatnot. And then the last thing is make sure that you give yourself some time. And time doesn't and cannot just be you sitting in front of the TV, watching Netflix, watching every Netflix show on there.
Anime, come on, guys.
All of that. Go outside. I know it's cold. Put on a toque. You're Canadian now. You're here too long. Put on a park up. Strap up your boot. And just go outside and let the cold burn off your face for a little bit, and then come back inside and do whatever you need to do. Those are my 3 things for everyone. And you don't need to be an athlete. You don't need to have an injury. We are dealing with unprecedented times. So be nice to each other, be nice to yourself, and give yourself some space.
Nice.
Great.
That's it.
Wow. I mean, my shout out is simple. Dr. J, thank you for being here. I learned a lot. I will definitely work on things I got to work on. I'm not perfect, but it's always good to be reminded on what's important, what matters, especially during this time. A lot of people, especially during the wintertime, people typically are depressed during this time. And on top of that, we're in a pandemic, the 2nd year in a row. So people are hurting. I think the last one too, Fima was saying, check on your friends. If your friends being quiet, like before they were always around, now they're gone, check in on them. Trust me, they're going through something. So Thank you, Dr. J, for that reminder. Fahim, I'll pass it to you, bro.
So Dr. J, I want to say it's It's an honor to have you once again.
Thank you.
I'm just doing the math in my head now. Hopefully, we don't have to wait another 67.
67.
No,
Well,
the
yeah,
shit one here,
60
they would
something.
kill you.
Yeah.
61.
Another
61.
60, yeah, okay, cool.
Another
Another
61.
67 episodes. To
Yeah.
have you again, we'll have to find a way. I think maybe we have to do something with, something to do with injuries. They're coming up. You're saying with your injury report, we'll have to work you in because it's always great. You're not just a doctor in regards to sports, but even life, health.
Appreciate that.
You actually mentioned something. That's why I asked that question in regards to the three things. What you've listed in regards to water, sleep, and walk. Those things that anyone can relate to, and there's something that we know, whether we're going to do it or not, we know we should be doing it, right?
Yes.
And it's very simple. So I do appreciate that. And to Nelly J, I want to say, be sure to text me the sleep club because I'm in.
And see a sleep club. No, it'll be great because I don't go to bed. I know I should go to bed, but I'm just like, oh, let me see what's on Clubhouse. Let me see Clubhouse has made it worse for me too. What's on Clubhouse? Oh, let me see what's happening. Oh, this anime just started. Like yeah. So I need to but yeah, sleep club. If you're interested, message me.
Wow. Wow. Message her at a time that she should not be on her phone, please.
Exactly.
Let's support this. Do not message her at 12 a.m. because she should be sleeping at them times. Oh boy.
All right,
disclaimer out there.
Let's do this. Let's close
Well,
it out.
that was episode 74. So
awesome.
guys, if you had a great time, you enjoyed yourself, please subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend for him.
You know we're on all platforms. If you're looking for us, where to find us, that's Good Rookies Podcast, episode 74. And we out.
Peace.